Well, I hope to give some principles right now that helps us understand how God is working with His servants and working with us as His church as we look to sustain modern yet mortal prophets who are key holders. The first principle that I want to teach is this. Prophets learn line upon line, just like you and I do. All of us are here to grow grace by grace, line upon line, bit by bit. You can see examples of this throughout Scripture. You can see how in the Book of Mormon, for example, Mormon is writing about the three Nephite disciples who were transfigured by Jesus. And he even says, I don't know if they just had a change in their body or if they were put into an immortal resurrected state. And then later on he says, I've learned that they weren't, it's not the same change as the resurrection, but they were put into a transfigured state as a whole. You see an example in the Book of Mormon of a prophet learning in the moment. It's a mistaken idea to think that because prophets are seers, that they see everything. Remember that even Moses, in Moses' grand vision, where he saw the earth and all the inhabitants thereof, the Lord withheld it from Moses and said, I'm only going to give you an account of this earth, things that pertained to Moses' stewardship at that time. Prophets see according to their stewardship and what is needed in that time. For example, even in the early restoration, in 1831, section 1 of the Doctrine and Covenants, the Lord acknowledged this as His true and living church, both. It was true, and it is true, but it's also living. Those two words go hand in hand, in my opinion. Even though, by the way, the church was seen by the Lord as being true, even though we didn't have a quorum of the 12 apostles, we didn't have the patriarch, we didn't have high councils, we didn't have stake presidencies, we didn't have so many of the priesthood structures and organizations in this church that Joseph learned about line upon line. I think if we had bumped into bringing full circle from my first video in this series, if we had bumped into Joseph Smith in the 1830s, early 1830s, I'm not sure Joseph Smith would have known about or taught us about eternal marriage. I'm not sure that we would have, if we'd have asked him questions about a mother in heaven. Those don't seem to be doctrines that were understood or known in the 1830s. Those seem to develop later in the 1830s into the 1840s. After, for example, Official Declaration 2 was given, extending the priesthood and temple blessings to all worthy members of the church, regardless of race, Bruce R. McConkie, who had said that he didn't think that would happen until the millennial reign, came out and gave a talk where he said, quote, we, the prophets, get our truth and our light line upon line and precept upon precept.